A very good evening to you. Welcome to another Newsmaker Live broadcast right here on DBS Television. My name is Timothy Polio. We'll be together until 10 o'clock this evening, at which time we'll be concluding with the clip that peaked. I have a special guest in studio. She is the mother of one of the island's murder victims, and that case is yet to be solved. We'll be hearing from her in just a moment. But first, she spoke yesterday to DBS's Sheffield Gillard, and that report was aired during the DBS News World. I'm referring there to Mary Williams, who's the mother of murder victim Kimberly Williams de Leon. She was shot on October 20th, 2018. That's the 29th of October 2018, killed by a single gunshot to the head. And at the time, she lived at Chef Harry Drive over in Des Moines, 42 years old, living to mourn as well, 2 children. We have the report from DBS's Sheffield Gillard.
Miss Mary Williams, mother of Kimberly de Leon, says it is already stressful dealing with the violent nature of her daughter's death, but the stress is being amplified by the lack of cooperation from the police and the failure to update relatives on the case. Miss Williams is calling on the police commissioner to light a fire under his men.
He needs to beef up. They need to beef up the way they conduct investigations, because certain things that were supposed to have been done on the night of the murder was not done. And to date, I have not been given any good reason why certain things were not done.
On Monday, Gender Relations Minister Dr. Gail Rigobert expressed empathy for the relatives of victims like Williams when she called for more dialogue between investigators and relatives of victims.
One of the things I think that can make a huge difference is keeping victims and their families in the loop, engaging them, explaining to them why there may be a delay, what the next step is, what one can anticipate. That can help to some extent cure some of the anxiety.
Law enforcement officials are yet to give an update on the results of tests done on samples from the Kimberly Williams de Leon case almost 4 months after her death and 3 months after Police Commissioner Severin Morchery promised to update the nation on the findings.
I spoke with the commissioner at one time, and actually the last time I spoke with him, and he said that they got some samples, the results from St. Kitts. However, there was the one from Trinidad that they could not, it was inconclusive, and so they had to send it to the United States for enhancement. However, it has been about maybe a month, and I have not heard anything. But I am very concerned as to the transportation of that evidence, because I mean it could be tampered with, it could get lost in the mail, and if that happens, should that happen, I wish it would not, but should that happen, what answer am I going to get for that?
According to Miss Williams, she gets a different story every single time she makes an appeal for an update and believes she's being taken for a ride.
It's tough. It is really tough, but I have to be strong in order to fight for justice for my daughter and her children. I think they're doing better than I am, and I'm happy. I'm happy that they're not all, crying and, constantly asking for her. They know she's gone. They know they miss her, but I'm happy that they're coping.
A post-mortem revealed that de Leon died from a single gunshot to the head. Police promised an update on the case upon receipt of the results of the forensic tests done on samples from the case, but this is yet to happen. For the DBS News World, I am Sheffield Gillard.
Thank you very much, Sheffield, for this report. It was filed last evening during the DBS News World. Once again, my guest this evening, Mary Williams, mother of murder victim Kimberly Williams de Leon. Welcome to the broadcast, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'd like to extend sympathies to you in the passing or the killing of your daughter.
Thank you so much.
How are you coping?
It's very tough. Every day waking up, knowing you're not going to see your daughter, after not seeing her for a while, you're not going to be able to speak with her. It's tough.
But nonetheless, you're going through life one day at a time?
I have to, because I must be strong. I have to be strong for me, for justice for my daughter, and for the children to get justice for their mother.
How many children?
2 children.
How old are they now?
9 years and 5 years,
Okay.
respectively.
People are watching, they have seen the image of your daughter ever since she was killed with that single gunshot on October 29th of last year. And many people do not know her. Describe her to us.
Kimberly was a quiet person. She was always about her business. She would smile. She would always give a hug. She cared very much about her children. She wouldn't leave them behind for anything. And, you know, we always communicated. You know, sometimes she would call me and say, well, I just give you a shout. You know, I call her. She's a family person. She was, sorry, a family person.
What was she like growing up?
Like the average child, you know, quiet, about her own business. Yeah, that's just who, you know, that was just her nature. Yeah.
What was unique about her? What was different?
Oh, what was different about her? Just being quiet. Just being quiet. You know, anything she set her mind to do, she would do it. And she would do it well. She always reached, you know, for her goals. And, you know, that's how everybody knew her. Very serious about her job. And that's just who she was.
I mean, I imagine from time to time you'd always return to the day when you gave birth to her. Has it ever happened to you since she
Yes.
passed away?
Yes.
And what is that memory like?
Awesome. Towards the end, devastating.
But what was the day like when you gave birth to her?
You know, you're young at that time, so then, you know, it's like experiencing giving birth to a child. It was a happy feeling. It was a happy feeling. Because then I had a boy, so now I had a girl to go with the boy, and like I was all set to go.
So you have 2 children.
Just 2 children.
What were your expectations of her while she was growing up?
That she would turn out to be a respectable person in society, you know, that she would walk the straight road, she would be, you know, well educated and have a decent job, have, you know, a happy family. But that didn't come through, you know. She reached halfway, but on the part of the happy family, and I spoke not of her extended family, but her immediate family, that was not there.
So you're in communication with her from time to time?
All the time, all the time.
How often?
Very often. The most is like probably a day or 2, but then she would call me. Sometimes I miss her call, and then she would call me back, or when I noticed she called, I would call her. But we spoke quite often.
And you have been overseas for a while, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay, for how long?
About 23 years.
But that did not cause any disruption with regard to your relationship with her?
No. We spoke all the time. Yeah.
How did you receive the news?
Actually, I was lying on my bed reading the news, you know, on my phone, and my niece called. Mommy. I'm like, what happened? Mommy? Well, I said, well, tell me what happened. The line cut off, she called back again, the same thing. Cut off, she called back again. Then she said, Kimberly got shot. And I told her, call the ambulance, don't let my child die, call the ambulance. Then the line cut off again. Then she called back, and I asked her, did you call the ambulance? Where is she? Did you call the ambulance? She said, no, she's dead. And that was it.
That was incredible news to you?
I mean, shocked. I was shocked. I left upstairs. I reached on the ground outside, downstairs. Don't ask me how I got there. The next thing I knew, I was back upstairs, knocking on my neighbor's door and asking her to get online and buy me a ticket, a plane ticket.
You live in the United States?
Yes.
Okay. How long prior to you receiving that bad news would you have spoken to your daughter?
Oh, the very night. Less than 3 hours.
And what was the conversation like?
Actually, something arrived from Amazon. And I opened up the box. When I saw it, I called her and I told her, but I just bought you those. Then she said, oh, I didn't know, but it's okay because when one gets broken, I can always replace it. Then I turned around and I was telling her I went to the Junior Creole and I bought a float and it looked like a 45 and we were laughing about it. So she said, well, down it was a mess herself. She had to buy her kids Kentucky. I spoke to her daughter. Then I told her, well, I'll talk to you all tomorrow. And just a couple hours later, I got the shocking news.
I mean, living in the United States, I think from time to time you'd hear of gun violence, and you reading the news as well via your cellular phone. You would know that from time to time would have fatal incidents occurring in St. Lucia, violent incidents. You ever envisaged that this would happen to any relative, much less your daughter? You ever imagined, you never expected this?
You know, anything could have happened. However, sometimes I would feel afraid knowing what the communication between she and her husband was. Not that I am saying that he did anything or he threatened to do her anything, but I just was not feeling comfortable sometimes. But I always prayed about it. And I always said, well, maybe it's just something running through my mind. I didn't really take it too serious. I did take it serious, but it wasn't too serious.
How much of a loss are you experiencing right now in terms of what kind of experience you go through from time to time as a result of her tragic death? In terms of the void that this has created?
Sometimes I want to say to myself, it's not real. It did not happen. Sometimes I say, you mean that's what I come down to St. Lucia to do? Mourn the loss of my daughter in such tragic circumstances. Sometimes I think, I feel so angry sometimes, very, very angry. But then I have to tell myself, no, I have to be strong.
Why do you feel angry?
Because nobody has been caught. I don't know who did it. I want to know who did it, and I want to know why the person did it. You have taken my daughter away, my only daughter. All I'm left with, a son and 2 grandchildren. You took you took a part of me away, and so I need closure. I need to know who and why.
But do you think just if you get the answers to those questions, that alone will bring closure?
You can never get closure to things like that, never. But you will feel a little better knowing that this person has been caught and this person is held responsible for her death. So it will just feel a little void, but you will always remember your kids. Especially in such circumstances, you will.
How much hope do you have that someone or individuals will be caught as far as those responsible for that killing?
My hopes are very high. However, it's not me. It's the police. They have to do their job, and they have to do it. I have confidence in them, yes. The problem I have is the way they're handling the situation. But it's not that I don't have confidence. I know there is a process to follow, of course. But they are dragging their feet. They are dragging their feet. And it's like, so while I haven't heard anything from them, I have to make that move to, hey, I'm sick and tired of doing that. Because every time I go, I hear something different. Who do I believe? What do I believe? I'm in the dark. I know there are things they cannot tell me. But update me, tell me something. But I have to make that move. It's okay. If I have to walk up there 10 times a day to get updates, I will do it. But I'm not getting anything concrete. I'm not getting anything satisfactory.
Why are you saying that the police are dragging their feet? Because earlier on you said it's a process. And very often when you say it's a process, you're talking about going through a particular regime whereby things take time, whereby you have to be very thorough in your approach, because I don't think you want the police to effect an arrest and through some technicality that person is charged for the outcome to indicate that on the basis of some technicality, he or she must be released?
Yes. There is process. I know you have to do certain things. But when you call and when I come to you and you say that you have the results, you will give an update. But by the time I get back to you, then something is missing. It has to be mailed to you. You just said you had the results. You did not say you had pat. You said you had everything came back and you will give an update. You know, now it's about a month. I'm hearing nothing. What are you saying? When you said you would have come out the following weekend and give an update. Up until now. Up until now. I'm not hearing anything.
You think it would be satisfactory if you receive constant updates and you are told just about the same thing? Because I'm sure maybe what the police are saying is that they're not in a position to provide you with anything different from what they have told you before. Would that satisfy you if they continue to tell you the same thing with regard to the level of the investigation in terms of the process involved?
What would satisfy me is bringing the perpetrator to justice. However, you can call me and say, well, okay, we communicated with whoever the samples went to, whatever, and we have some results. We are still missing one. As to how long it will take, we don't know. But as soon as we get the results, we will let you know. Okay? You can say that. Now, when I come to you, and you, as I said earlier, you said the results are here. I'm expecting everything is here. But then when I go after, then you will see one is missing. But you just said everything was there. So why one is missing? And why you have to wait? You know, and then it has to be mailed. Things like that should not be mailed. Somebody should have to go and pick it up. You know, not mailed. And I have a big problem with that.
Prior to the incident, the unfortunate incident which involves your daughter, what was your response to the crime problem in St. Lucia? What was your reaction living in the United States?
Every time
were you bothered by what was happening?
Yes. Every time I would read, I would see somebody got shot, how many people killed in a day. I'm like, what is St. Lucia coming to? That's not the St. Lucia I left behind. And a lot of young people in gangs, even in the school, with weapons. And I'm like, what is St. Lucia coming to? But then, what is being done? Can anything be done about it? What is being done about it?
How do you think the authorities should approach the crime problem, especially the homicides?
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because imagine they would have, let's say they have one on hand investigating. While they're in the midst of the investigation, you have 2, 3, 4 down the line. It makes it difficult. It's a lot of work on them, I know. It's a lot of pressure on them. But sometimes I think they are not doing enough. Get up, go out, find out. You understand? They don't. They just, just sit down, just drag.
But how you think the citizen, how you think that people in the community, in the society, can assist in tackling crime in St. Lucia?
Saying what you know, what you see. But even that is dangerous. Because you don't want to go out there giving the police information, and next thing you and your life and your family life is at stake. So that is one of the factors that's, preventing, crimes from being solved sometimes. You don't want going out there and tell the officer, well, look, I saw X, Y, Z, and this is who did it. Next thing you know, gunshots ring in your house. Who would like that? Nobody. Or next thing you hear, they come after you and say, well, this person said that you told the cops I did it. Nobody wants that. So everybody, most people would just stay quiet and say nothing. And it's not helping. But what else can they do?
But is it therefore understandable that that kind of existing in that kind of environment and the police having to cope, that it will always be difficult to solve those murders that are occurring on the island?
Yes and no. I mean, difficult in the sense of if you have no evidence, you have no eyewitness, yes, it will be difficult. But even then, when you have evidence, you should be working on it. You should be pursuing that, you know, and probably you can come out with something. You know, at the end of the day, you'll come out with something.
What do you have to say to the person or the people who were involved in your daughter's murder? Because we don't know whether it's one individual or whether it's two people.
You're very correct. But whoever, be it 1, 2, 3, how many? I don't know. You have a conscience, and your conscience will be keeping your life miserable. Because I will have no peace and no rest until that person is brought to justice. You know, that person will pay. You know, that person will pay. And they are not going to have a happy life. You can never have a happy life after taking away a mother from her 2 young children. There was no argument. There was no fight or anything. You think you can walk the street feeling okay? You're not feeling okay. You may pretend that you're okay, but you're not. You're not. And I am going to fight for justice for as long as I live. I will not give up.
What will you miss your daughter for the most?
The phone calls, the laughter, you know. Buy this for me, buy that for me. Sometimes I send her something, I send her a picture. You like that? No. Anytime she says nice, I know. So then I get it for her. You know, I was there with her all the way. Even if she was married, had a job, that's my daughter. And if I see anything and I want to give her, I would buy it for her. You understand? I will miss, you know, the jokes, the pictures. She would be sending me pictures when she goes out with the kids. I'll be missing all of that.
How are the children coping?
Actually, they're doing better than me. They know she's gone. They know. They miss her, yes. But I think they're doing fine. They're doing fine for now because kids don't really understand death. You know, they don't.
But how are you ensuring that she'll be remembered?
Always speak about her. Always, you know, look at the pictures. You know, she will always be remembered, you know, no matter how good or how bad your child was. That child dies. You will always remember your child. Always.
You're watching Newsmaker Live right here on DBS Television. My guest is Miss Mary Williams. She's the mother of murder victim Kimberly Williams DeLeo. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation and later your calls. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Newsmaker Live right here on DBS Television. My guest this evening is Miss Mary Williams. She's the mother of Kimberly Williams DeLeo. And later we'll be taking your calls on this broadcast and conclude as usual at 10 o'clock with the clip that peaked. For mothers who are watching, the dozens of mothers who are watching this broadcast right now, who still have their children who are alive, and they're able to converse with those children, what is the message you have for those mothers and even fathers too in terms of their relationship with their children?
Keep on talking to your children. Let them know that they can come to you at any time with a problem. Listen to them. And if you cannot assist them, find somebody who will be able to assist them.
What about their relationship? How you think? Because you see, very often we have a tendency to miss people when they have died, you know, and to pay homage to them and not appreciate them as they're like. It happens whether it's a mother or father or daughter and so on. I'm sure that you really miss your daughter, but if your daughter were to appear right now, I mean, what would you say to
Oh
her?
my gosh.
What would you say to her?
I would, hug her and laugh and everything, and, tell her, how much, I missed her over the years in the, like in the physical,
okay.
yes, and, we would have I think we would have a fun time. We would have a fun time.
But advice to parents in terms of how should they appreciate their children?
Parents,
Because a mother does not want to bury her daughter
No.
or her son. It's supposed to happen the other way around.
yeah, you must always appreciate your children, and your children should appreciate you likewise. You understand? Always have that bonding. Speak to your children. Your children speak to you. Y'all enjoy life together. Y'all do things together. Yes, there are certain areas of your life will be different, but the bonding is very important.
What was life like between you and your daughter while she was growing up?
The normal, take care of her, send her to school. We go out junior Creole, go out the square, go out, I'll take her out. I made sure that she had a good basic education, because, it was my job to do. I did it, and I think I did it very well. Because, like I say sometimes, she was brought up, she was not dragged up. That is why she was who she was, and everybody remembered her for being that good person. She was always at the mercy of somebody.
Yeah. Can you cite some examples? Can you tell me about some examples where she would assist other people?
Oh, well, in terms of, a child may need clothes, she would call me and tell me, oh, this child, she spoke, and I would gather stuff and send some stuff for her. Family members would go to her to get this done, that done, the other done. As busy as she was, she would find time to assist them. She would find time to do things for them. And that's just who Kimberly was, a people's person.
Over the last few weeks, we have not heard the usual cry in unison from members of the public with regard to her death, because they have a tendency to quickly move on. How are you hoping to continue to keep her name in the news so that the authorities would be cognizant, would be very much aware of what transpired in October, and then that will cause them to work towards ensuring that you receive the kind of justice that you're looking for?
Okay, I appreciated all they did and are still doing. However, I would really like to see that, they meet with me and let's continue. It's right now it's at a standstill. We need to continue. We have to, if it's a protest, whatever, we have to come together and continue. That's the only way, our voices can be heard.
You said earlier that you, from time to time, will be getting reports and updates from the police. Any interaction with government officials, government ministers, although they are not the ones who are investigating this particular matter, it's not their responsibility. But what kind of interaction you've had with the authorities, with the government?
There's one particular one, I wouldn't call names, but there's a particular one who I met with just before the burial. I spoke with her, and we had a good conversation. Yeah, but that's just about it.
Okay.
I have not seen or heard anybody else. But
are you hoping to remain in St. Lucia for an indefinite period? Because you say you have been residing in the United States for a while.
I have to get to the end of this. I'm going nowhere. I'm risking everything else to be here to get justice for my daughter and my grandchildren.
Why do you think that is so important to do?
It's important. You cannot take a life for no reason. As I said, there was no quarrel, there's no fight. In a fight, anything can happen. But why? Why? Whoever did what they did. And you rob two young children of a mother's love. Kimberly was very, very into her children. She loved her children. She would do anything for her children. And to just take her away from them? No.
How are you hoping to raise those children, or if you are in a position to do so?
I'll take care of them. I took care of Kimberly and my niece all by myself. I'm going to do it all over again for these two children.
You have family members who will be assisting as well?
Yes and no.
Okay. But, when those things happen, we very often hear from the mothers. What about Kimberly's father? Is he still alive?
Oh, yes. Up until this morning we spoke.
Okay. He's in St. Lucia?
He is not in St. Lucia,
Okay,
but I
okay.
always keep him abreast with what's going on. He calls me sometimes and asks me, well, any good news, what's going on? I let him know everything that's going on.
And in a nutshell, what about Kimberly you believe that would cause anyone to want to kill her?
I cannot point my finger on anything. Kimberly was not into any trouble, finding herself in trouble or, casting remarks for people, and she was not that kind of person. She was always quiet about her own business. And, that's how most people remembered her, if not everybody remembered her, being that person who was just strict about her job. She was a good worker, and she loved her children and being around her children and doing things with her children.
Are there any warning signs with regard to the children and how they're coping? Because you said that they're coping quite fine. But
Yeah, in my opinion, I'm not a professional, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see certain things. They are doing pretty well.
But have they received counseling?
No. I did mention that one time, especially for the girl, and I was told that she was too young. I don't get it.
She's already 5.
Yes, she just turned 5 in December.
So the authorities are suggesting that she's too young at the age of 5, and what are they recommending? At what age?
They didn't say. All they said to me was that the boy, they can do the boy because he's older, but she was too young. And in my opinion, the younger, if you start now, it's better. It helps her get through that, grieving process. Because, the kids grieve in their own way. It's not like me and you. They grieve in their own way. You think they don't feel hurt or miss their mom or whatever? Of course they do. They grieve in their own little way,
We are basically 2 days away from the island's independence anniversary. 40 years. And you've been away for 22 years. Based on what has been happening, including what has happened to your daughter and crime and life in St. Lucia in particular, what kind of grade you would give us in terms of how we have conducted our affairs as a country?
On a scale of what?
1 to 10. 10 being the highest.
I would say 5.
Okay.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Apart from crime.
And then
apart from crime.
there's
in
a
what
lot of
area?
work to be done in every area. However, it must be done collectively. It's not just the government, and when I say the government, whichever government is in power at the time, whether it's SLP, UWP, or whatever the P may be, it takes, people must come together to make it work. You have to come together to make it work.
But you think that's easier said than done? I mean, just you saying that
Exactly.
this evening, just you saying that, just you issuing that kind of advice to the people of St. Lucia does not mean that they
It's
will
not
take
easy,
heed.
It's not easy. We're living in a different era, and things will be done differently. People look for an easy way out. People look to, if they do not get justice, they look to take justice. Gone are the days when you used to fist fight. There isn't that anymore. It's a gun. It's a knife. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But is there anything in you that wants to seek revenge? Because you're saying you have faith in the authorities. We don't know who committed that crime, the individual or individuals. But I'm sure that as a mother, and you being a human being, you definitely would want some kind of redress one way or the other.
Timothy,
How are you restraining yourself?
Timothy, if you ask me, I will tell you. Sometimes I get so angry that I think a portrait, if I hold on to a portrait of whoever it is, that I can crumble that person. However, I have to tell myself no. No. I'm just going to add insult to injury. And there are 2 kids. So I have to put that stop. And I have to take a few deep breaths and calm down. But you know, what I'm looking at, I read a clip from the news a couple of days ago, maybe 2-3 days ago, with regards to the Syrian who was killed. And it read, you know, 2 persons of interest are in police custody. Now it's been more than 72 hours. 2 persons of interest. Why 2 persons of interest in custody? I thought persons of interest would be out there on the road until the investigation is concluded, but it looked like they have a new way of going around it. I don't know.
The samples from the crime scene, they were sent to St. Kitts, and I think to some other location as well. If for whatever reason the authorities are encountering problems in solving this particular crime, what do you believe the next step should be? I know you're not into law enforcement, you're not a police officer, but how far you think the police should go in terms of trying to solve this murder?
I would hope that if they're having difficulty solving it, that they seek outside help. You know, that's
irrespective of the cost.
well, somebody's got to pay it. Money is spent on other things, so why can't they spend money on going out there and getting maybe an independent body to come and help them with the investigation? You know.
Because initially what we heard from the police is that they are equipped, they have the resources to solve this particular crime.
So why is it not solved? You mean to tell me it takes that long to cross your T's and dot your I's? It takes that long. If you have the resources, why is it not solved? Why? Because whoever did it, person of interest, they call the person, is still out there.
Well, let's not zero in on anyone.
No, I'm not,
individual.
because I wasn't there. I
Yeah,
remember I
because-
said I was not there.
because the
But
fact is
no,
we-
I'm looking
we
at the
don't know.
news.
Yeah,
I'm looking at what the news said. A person of interest. That's what they said. I didn't say it, you know. But then you have 2 people of interest, 2 persons of interest. I didn't see. I wasn't there. I was not there. I did not see. I'm going based on what the newspaper articles read.
Is it difficult to cope when, for example, you have to restrain yourself, and also you have to try to be, as opposed to being emotional, you have to try and be logical and tell yourself that you do not have the evidence. Clearly, you were not there, as you said earlier on, and you are not privy to certain things in terms of certain things that would bring some kind of evidence forward with regard to who exactly committed that crime. How difficult is it for you to reconcile between the two in terms of being rational and emotional, because you're talking about the death of or the murder of your daughter? How do you keep yourself calm? How do you think straight in determining who exactly committed that crime?
Based on what I've heard, which I cannot say because this is an open investigation, and I am, no matter, I am upset about the way they're handling the case, I have to respect their work, their job, you know, I have to do that. And based on what I've heard, you know, I have my own, I get to my own conclusion,
Right.
you know.
But it must be based on evidence, right?
Yes. If you have something with your ears, isn't that evidence? In my opinion, to me it is.
No, but you can't.
That's to me.
Yeah, but you
Right.
cannot present that before.
That's
a
what I'm
court.
saying.
You
I
cannot,
said-
you
I
cannot
said to
conv-
me.
you
To
cannot
me.
convict somebody on,
No.
on that basis. Otherwise, so many of us, based on hearsay, would be found guilty of having committed a crime that we were not involved in, or we cannot be linked to at all.
Hearsay is if somebody told you, but when you hear for yourself, it's not hearsay. But, you know, I won't go into details, but that is where it is.
But considering that we have so many unsolved murders in St. Lucia over the last several years now, why would you still be confident that this particular murder will be solved, because this is not the only murder that's not been solved. It occurred in October, but we have other murders that date back to decades. I mean, Mary Radcliffe, a number of other people.
Because the people need to come out and stand up and talk and put pressure, apply pressure. You understand? But if everybody after about a month, 2 months, they say, well, okay, there's nothing, I'll forget it, nothing will be done. You have to put pressure. You know?
What kind of pressure?
On the police. You have to have meetings, you have to have protests, you have to have rallies, you have to, mount that pressure. You see? But again, if you have no eyewitness, it makes it difficult. You understand? If there is no evidence, it makes it difficult. What can they do about it? Just pray and hope that somebody will come up with something that they can reopen the case. You see? But in cases where there is evidence, then you need to do something. You need to act on that. And do what you have to do.
Within what reasonable period of time you think the police should be able to solve that crime? And this is you speaking purely as a mother.
That crime should have been solved at least by mid-January. Based on what I've been told, put it together. I've not been to law school, but it doesn't mean that I'm stupid. That should have been solved already. And I cannot go into details because, as I say, it's an open investigation and there are things that I will not say.
By when are you therefore hoping that this crime will be solved?
As early as we speak. As early as we speak.
Any fear that, God forbid, you could end up dying before this case can
God
be
alone
solved?
can answer that question. I don't know my hour. I don't know when is my final hour. But I'm hoping to be alive and kicking and to get the justice for my daughter and her 2 children.
Because we have had incidents or cases in the past where people have been waiting for justice for so long that they have perished and not gotten it.
And not gotten it, yeah. But I will do as much as I can. I will try to do it within the parameters of the law, but I will be pressing on for justice.
You're watching Newsmaker Live right here on DBS Television with my guest, once again, Miss Mary Williams. She is the mother of the late Kimberly Williams de Leon. She was killed as a result of sustaining a single gunshot to the head. That's October the 29th of last year. Please stay with us. When we come back, your calls. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll put a telephone number on screen so that you can call right now with your questions and comments for my guest. Once again, her name is Mary Williams, and she's the mother of Kimberly Williams de Leon, who was killed on the 29th of October 2018, living to mourn, apart from her mother, her 2 children, one 5 and the other is 9. We have our first call online. Good evening. This is Newsmaker Live. You're on the air. Hello, good evening to you, caller. Hi, Mr. Producer, can you get the call onto the air? Good evening. Hello.
Good evening, Tim.
Hi, good evening to you, sir. Go ahead, please, with your contribution.
Good evening to your guest.
Yeah, Miss Williams.
Good evening.
Right. Tim, is it because they use the term person of interest that only the persons in their category or their knowledge could understand the term person of interest? Is it because they use the term person of interest that they did not run the test for gunpowder on that person? And now it is too late to say that, he's suspected of doing the crime? Is it
Now, caller,
because
I don't
a
think.
hierarchy?
Hello, caller. I don't think we want to zero in on any one individual or individuals, because that will be defeating the purpose of the processes that are normally involved when you are investigating a murder. You have to be thorough, and it's on the basis of the evidence that you will be convicting an individual. Don't you think so, sir?
I'm understanding, but if it was somebody else, you would test for gunpowder, right?
Well, I don't know what they tested for and what they did not test for, sir.
Oh,
Yeah. So I think it will be, no pun intended, we'll be jumping the gun there if we try to put ourselves in the heads of the police officers, as to the investigators, as to how they conducted that whole probe, sir. All right. Thank you so much for calling, sir. We continue to take your calls. Once again, this is Newsmaker Live on DBS Television. And so far, to their credit, the police, they have conducted several, they have hosted several press conferences on this particular matter. But one can certainly sympathize with Miss Mary Williams as far as the tardiness in bringing this to a conclusion. Good evening. You're on the air?
Good evening, team.
Hi. Good evening to you, caller.
My first time calling any show.
Thank you so much for calling.
The reason why I called because I'm a shooting victim.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to tell Miss Kimberly, mom, my first daughter name is Kimberly.
Okay.
So I do miss out on what I do understand what she's saying, because I was shot in my back and I'm on a wheelchair. But one thing that I realized, what is your name, ma'am? Can I call you by your name?
Yeah, sure.
Mary Williams.
What's her name?
Mary Williams.
Miss Mary. One thing that I realized is, Mary, that when you see someone get shot, only in the ghetto that police get the person right away. I'm being honest with you, because the reason why I'm saying that, when I got shot, I saw the person who shot me because I did my own investigation. I was the one that identified the person who shot me. And I was speaking to somebody on the phone. When I was speaking to the person was speaking to somebody else, letting them know who was the one that shot me. And then the person said that the person is from the ghetto area. Well, not the ghetto, but the area that I live. I once lived in fact. So then I keep on hearing people saying that the police and them doing their job. But if you realize that most of the shooting they have, or the killing, it's only in the ghetto that you get information right away. I do not see any reason why they cannot find out who shot your daughter, how did they shoot your daughter up to the right today. Because when I got shot, it was like I got shot about 4:40 in the morning on my way to work. And I saw the person coming behind me. I identified the person to the police. And I was the one that identified the person on the road as well to call the police that had my case and tell him, I just saw that certain other person, and look, the person is standing just a few yards away from me. So what I don't understand is that every time somebody gets murdered out of the ghetto area, the police do not know. But whenever it's in the ghetto, the police get the information accurate. So I know what you're going through. The only advice I can give you that I gave, well, I didn't give it to myself. I was told to do it. Give everything to God. Because right now I'm sitting in a wheelchair, I'm not working. I have to depend on everybody else to give me assistance. And then now I know how it is like when you need help. So I'm listening to you, and whatever you're saying is coming from your heart. I miss out on my kids. My son, when I got shot, my son held my hand, and which I didn't even know. Because when I got shot, I was on the ground, and they told me my son was holding my hand. And I have grandchildren now, and I cannot be with them. So I'm telling you, I know exactly what you're going through. You have to be in that situation to know what the person that in that situation is going through. So, Ms. Mary, I'm by your side 100%. I hope and pray that you get the justice that you deserve and that you need for Kimberly, because in St. Lucia, there's no justice. The reason I'm saying that, when I got shot and I was in a wheelchair, I asked to come to the courthouse so I could see the guy face to face and ask him, why did you shoot me? You know what was my answer? So in St. Lucia, that has not reached that part yet, so where the victim can see the, how you call them?
Yeah, the perpetrator. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Was the person ever convicted of the crime?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said I was the one that saw the person and called the police at my case and tell them, well, look, the person is standing a few yards away from me.
And he was
And then
convicted. So what happened to him?
he got only 14 years.
14 years, okay.
14 years, and I'm sitting in a wheelchair, I am not working, and I have to depend on everybody else for help.
What year were you shot? What period?
2010,
2010. Okay, that's 9 years ago.
yes.
All right.
So I know what Miss Mary is going through when you see something that happened to you, and you have no help and nobody to assist you. So it's just like you need your help for your daughter, and you have no assistance. And now I need help to really be with my grandkids. Well, I have two daughters. Like I tell you, my first daughter name is Kimberly, and my two daughters, they're all grown up. My son, he just left school. And I have my grandchildren, which I wish I could have been places with. So I know what it's like for you saying you want to raise your grandchildren. It's very hard, and it's something that no mother can go through.
How many grandchildren do you have, ma'am?
Excuse me?
How many grandchildren do you have?
How many?
Grandchildren?
5.
5, okay.
Yeah. So it's very hard for me now to see them growing, and I cannot be there with them. You know, they come to visit me, but what I'm saying is to walk with them and go out with them. These are the things that you miss out. So Miss Mary, I know you're missing that. Another thing that I heard you said that they said that your daughter is too young. Why is she too young to get some kind of help? Because she's seeing or knowing or understanding that her mother is no longer there or her mother was killed. It's hard because my son was only 10 years when I got shot.
Well, caller, I was the one, something happened, and I was the one who spoke to Human Services, and I told them that I think she needs some counseling, and the response was that she's too young.
And she was 5?
And yes.
She was 4 at the time?
She was 5. She had just turned 5.
So that's something that I find that so I can't even use the word ridiculous or whatever to say, because why can't they give us some kind of counseling, talk to her, because she's missing her mom. She don't know where, okay, she's 5, but can she tell somebody, where did my mom go? Will my mom be back? Will I be able to play with my mom? Have they asked those questions? These are the things that children need to find. They need to find out how many persons that could tell her where exactly her mom is. Will she ever see her mom? Will her mom bring her to school? Because let me tell you, Miss Mary, I know how it feels. The first day my son passed out secondary school, I cried. The reason why I cried, I couldn't have been there with him at the school. So that's why I'm saying to you, I understand exactly what you're going through, not having your grandkids by you, not having Kimberly with you, because it's like I didn't have my son with me on that special day. This is a moment where all mothers is so happy and proud to see their son or their daughter go to secondary school, and I had to be on my bed crying away, knowing that my son's first day of secondary school, I couldn't have been there with him. So Miss Mary, I'm telling you, I am strong in the Lord. I'm not strong by anybody else, because no matter what you're going through, and let me tell you one thing that I said the day when I got shot. I was lying down on the ground, and my prayer was, Lord, you said you'll never leave me, you will never forsake me. I'm asking you to be with me until the end. And the Lord have been here with me to have me going strong, because every time I remember that my first grandson went to secondary school, I wasn't there with him the same way. My granddaughter tells me sometimes, she missed me. She wish she could have gone somewhere with me. And these are the moments that I miss. So I'm telling you, I know what you're missing. But like I said to you, and I'll say to you again, take it to the Lord in prayer. He always seems to make a way for us.
I have been doing that.
Okay. All right, ma'am. Thank you so much. Appreciate your contribution.
I just wish you that you get exactly what you need. But with God, all things are possible, and you will get your justice.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Your response?
Well, my granddaughter, at one point, my sister told her, you're not going to see your mom again. And she said yes. And she said, when I die and I get to heaven, I will see my mother.
Hold that point, we have a call. This is Newsmaker Live. Good evening, you're on the air.
Tim,
hi, good
evening.
Good evening to you.
I'm watching this program painstakingly. I knew Kimberly personally. In fact, I used to work with her at Customs, and in fact, the week before, I was not even aware that she was transferred. So in paying one of my visits to the department, I inquired of her, and they told me that she was transferred. That was just about a week or so before she died, actually. And I said, and when I inquired when she transferred, they told me I think it was the Ministry of Health. And I promised to go pay her a visit because she was somebody who, I mean, everything her mother said about her, that's what I remember her to be. And when I received that news, I'm not someone who breaks down quite easily, but I felt my eyes were all filled up, so I understand what a lady is going through. And you see that last call you got there a while ago? Boy, that is touching. I think we should really get some more testimonials like this, to hit home. I don't know if, I mean, even criminals sometimes, they have a heart to you. But you see, the problem is, Tim, that how many of these people are listening to your program? How many of these people are listening to the hue and cry of the victims of crime? Most of these persons, most of these perpetrators of crime or that commit the crime, etc., they have their little headphones listening to some. They don't listen to mainstream media, So how do we get the message across? How do the agencies of government play a role? Go into the hot spots. Not just police have to go into there, sit down there, get volunteers, get people. The message has to be the message has to be communicated to these people. It's not a question of going and take revenge, going and do this, etc. You had families. Look, the lady's, Miss Mary's whole life is disrupted as a result. She had to curtail her life in the streets, etc., to come and seek justice for her mother, for her daughter. You understand? And we all know, and that's the other thing, the lady before said she basically had to solve her own crime. You understand? She basically had to point out to the police, look, the guy who shot me, You think the police did not have that information? You understand? I really think we have a lot more to do, and we have to adopt a lot more new strategies in solving. We have to think outside of the box. And again, if we could get a lot of these victims of crime, and the victims are not just the people who are directly affected. We're talking about the families who have lost their loved ones. Let us hit home. You see these two stories tonight? Oh gosh, man, Miss Mary. What I could tell you is, boy, stay strong. You are very, very tough lady. I know you for a while. I didn't know you were Kimberly's mother. In fact, I didn't know Speedy, in fact, was Kimberly's father, who I met at the funeral. But, my thoughts and prayers are with you all as well, and I hope you get the justice that you're seeking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller.
Once again, you're watching Newsmaker Live on DBS Television with my guest, Miss Mary Williams, and she is the mother of Kimberly Williams DeLeo. We conclude the broadcast at 10 o'clock, and so far I've been focusing on that killing which occurred on the 29th of October of 2019. We have a call. Good evening, Newsmaker Live, go ahead please.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, good evening to you, Rick. Kill the cat, Rick.
First,
kill the cat.
Kill the cat. Okay, I'll kill the cat.
There's a feedback.
Tim, first of all, I want to. Well, I don't want to say congratulate because congratulate doesn't seem the right word. I want to commend this lady because I know she knows a lot more than she has said on that program, and that takes her cool, her calmness, her sense of responsibility. Even to say that we have a number 5 out of 10, she said 5 out of 10. I had hoped to interview her myself. I suspect she may have gotten the wrong idea. I may have given her the wrong vibe, and that's why I didn't have her on my show. But she will notice that the one guy who's keeping the story alive in the media is moi. I think last week I had Kimberly on the front page of the Star, and the story she just mentioned there about the Syrian gave me an idea that that's the paper she got it from, and I promise her that story is going to keep on going. I don't think we should be too sympathetic with the police. I think we should put pressure on the authorities, not just for Kimberly's sake, but for all those people who have lost loved ones. And the caller before was talking about the victims of crime. The truth is, life is cheap in St. Lucia. That's the reason. People forget. People go on TV and they say, "Oh, he was a bad boy. I always warned him. He would end like." It doesn't matter if he was a bad boy. He's your son. He's your child, and that's not the time to be talking whether it was goodbye or not. Nobody has a right to kill him, and we have a right to expect justice. So I want to commend her very, very much, Miss Williams. I hope I will have a shot talking to you one of these days. Tim, I also want to say to you, this has to be one of the most difficult interviews you have conducted.
Very, very.
Am I right or not?
Very, very, very difficult.
And you know the reason. Not because you. It's not because you can't do it. It's a very, very, very difficult interview. But I would say to you, nobody has been charged. And while Ms. Williams keeps talking about nobody's been charged, that leaves a lot of room to ask a lot of questions because nobody's been charged. The matter of person of interest as well, somebody was declared a person of interest, but it's fair to say that the person who was declared a person of non-interest soon afterwards, the police bungled a lot on that case, bungled badly. This is a very involved case. It's more than meets the eye, and that's about all I'm going to say on it right now. But Ms. Williams, I hope you will stay on and keep putting the pressure. I don't know who told you that the samples had been mailed, rather because we were told that the stuff would be collected. Somebody would be sent to collect that, and we reported that. And it's not the norm to say such things are sent through the mail. That's crazy. But when my reporter asked, because my reporter was told that they had received the samples from the results from St. Kitts, the police then said they were assessing the results, which is very strange to me, Tim, because we don't have any lab to do it. If we had a lab to do it in the first place, we would have done it. So it seems to me that what the St. Kitts people would have said is what they found. So maybe they're trying to, I don't know if interviews are going on. That's another thing. There are things the police, and I've criticized the police for that, there are things the police should keep to themselves. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of things in this case they should have kept to themselves. They didn't. But there are certain things that they should tell people, that the investigation is going on, that we are heading in a certain way, that we have pointers, that stuff like that. But they say nothing, and it's a shame that Ms. Williams, we reported in the paper, that she said she's been given the runaround. That should not be allowed to happen. Today, Ms. Williams, tomorrow, you or me. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling, Rick.
Thank you.
I'll not pose another question to you because I suspect that we'll be getting another call very shortly. Only to say a very good evening to everyone who's listening and watching this broadcast as well. Good evening to you, Newsmaker Live. You're on the air.
Good evening. I just wanted
to
express my condolences to Miss Williams. And
thank you.
I know it must be a very difficult time. You spoke about Human Services saying that the child is too young. There is a clinical psychologist attached to the Division of Human Services, and I'm surprised that somebody would say that she's too young. So I think you need to revisit. This is your right as a grandmother to revisit the system. This is my contribution tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What say you, ma'am?
I was thinking of taking her to a psychologist, other than the private, other than the Human Services. I have not done that yet because since they are ward of the states, there are things you can do and you cannot do.
Okay, we have a call. Good evening. Go ahead with your contribution, caller.
Yes, hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening to you. Turn down the volume of your television set. It is causing a terrible feedback.
Yes, a minute.
And then you can go ahead.
Yes. Sorry about it.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I feel you should tell your daughter, tell the children about the mom. Because I have a daughter at the age of 3. Her father was murdered at Grizzly Friday night. And I've been telling her about her father, and she copes with it. So I feel it's always wise to let the children know, in spite of letting her reach at a certain age, and to let her know, and she will start giving you attitude. So you should let her know from now. Thank you very much.
Well,
Okay.
the kids know. They do know. They do know she's not around and they will not be seeing her again. They do know that.
And you're saying that they're coping so far?
Yes, they're not showing any signs of, what should I say, maybe stress or hurt or, they're doing pretty well. Adjusting, pretty well.
We have another call. Good evening, Newsmaker Live. You're on the air.
Yes, good evening.
Hi. Good evening to you, caller.
I'm just calling to say something on the case because I had a family member of mine that was raped and murdered too. That's Valinda Joseph. That was my niece, my brother's daughter. And up till now, it's 16 years and nothing has been done. The child was only 13 and now she would be 29 years because she's same age with a son of mine because I'm her aunt. And we keep going to the court. It's one story after the next, and up till now, 16 years. Can you believe that?
That's a very long time.
So I think the biggest judge is above, which is God, and if we don't get justice here, we'll get it when the time is right, because with God, all things are possible. And my lady, my heart goes off to you because I know what it feels like to lose your family member in this situation. Just hold on tight, keep praying, and if you don't get justice here, God will definitely give you the justice, because sometimes we feel there's nothing's been done, but at the end of the day, there's only the biggest judge is God. So we just have to leave everything in God's hands, and He will see you through. Good night.
What kind of person would you hope that Valinda Joseph would be today at 29?
No, she would be 29 years this August, on the 1st of August. This year, it would be her birthday, her 29th birthday.
Okay. But what kind of person you are expecting
her to be? She was a very quiet child. I was around them when they was growing up because my brother's kids they were, and then I came up and live in the north of the island, which is in Castries. And when I got the news, it was a shock to us. But then again, we thought that justice would have been done earlier during the early stages of the case, and up till now, nothing yet.
What do you miss her for the most? What do you miss about her? What do you miss about her?
Well, she was my niece, and that's my brother's daughter. And to make it worse, my brother was arrested concerning the case, and they were saying that how is he that got the child, and then that is my brother's child, which I know to a fact, and they gave the wrong information saying is the child's stepfather, which they never corrected. So there's a lot of things that going on here that is not right, and the people know, most of the people that's in authority or that's in charge of the certain departments where to bring the justice forward, they know what's going on, and sometimes if they make a mistake, they refuse to go back and correct it, because to me, if the child has a stepfather, as they put it, so where is the father? Why was the father never confronted about the matter? You understand? Because that's the way they put it, or they saying he's the stepfather. So where is the father? So, like, sometimes things happen and we never get to the bottom of it because we never ask.
Hello? Hello? Okay. We have lost the caller. But why do you think that people have a tendency to say, as far as when people are in search for justice, that they have a tendency to say, let's leave this for God? Are you subscribing to this as well? I'll ask you that question. We'll get to answer in just a moment. We have a call. Good evening. This is Newsmaker Live. You're on the air.
Good evening, team.
Hi. Good evening to you, sir.
And also good evening to Miss Williams.
Good evening, sir.
From the day which I heard of this news, it really saddened my heart. And I can watch, the lady, and I could see that she's really going through a lot. However, I just want to encourage you, miss, be thou strong in the Lord, because God is the judge of all judges. But I just want to say, when the people who are supposed to be protecting us, and they are the ones who are causing us more harm, where do we go from here? When the people that we put our trust in, where we are expecting that when we are faced with situation like yours, that they're going to put up a speed to make sure that they bring those perpetrators to justice. And sometimes these are the same people who are protecting the people sometimes who are doing this thing. Where do we go from here? This is the reason why we have so many unsolved cases in St. Lucia today. Like Verlinda Joseph and many others. Their family up to a day like today are suffering. They are hurting. And it's like our justice system has even dismissed a lot of those cases. But, Tim, tonight I just want to say, and I want to push something quick at you. I believe people like you and a lot of the radio personalities that we have, I believe you all hold the power also. And these cases ought not to die. When things like that happen in the country, I believe these are things that you all have to pay continual attention to unless or until justice is served to the nation. Because what happened to this lady's daughter tonight, what happened to her daughter there, it is not only saying that it will happen to her daughter. Tomorrow can be myself and you and many others. I believe we are supposed to hold the state, the police force, and the government at large. We are supposed to hold them responsible and accountable unless and until they bring justice to this kind of situation in our nation. I want to encourage you again, miss. Your daughter is gone. But be thou strong in the Lord. Keep praying to God. Because every time I watch this young lady, I am just seeing that she was somebody aiming. She was just a very focused person. I didn't know her, but just watching her, her pic on the TV, I could tell she was a very focused person. And whoever did that, I believe it was something which was planned. And I am saying that person will have no peace and no rest until whoever did it, whether he or she, I do not know, but they will be held accountable for such action. Again, team, I want to encourage you for having such a show tonight, and I expect to see a lot more of these things in the media. I think the time has come. You see, our politicians, sometimes I want to see a little less of them. And I want to see more. I want to hear a little less of them. I want to see a little less of them. And these things that are happening to the nation and in the nation throughout, I want to see we pay more attention to these things. So therefore, our politicians themselves will get more serious and they will understand that they cannot play with a nation who believes in justice. Have a blessed night.
You too, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate your contribution. I was asking the question earlier on. Can you basically resign yourself to saying, leave it to God?
I believe in God. I believe in His Word. But sometimes I want to see it done faster than that.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you so much for holding on. This is Newsmaker Live. You're on the air.
Yes. Good night.
Hi. Good night to you, sir.
I was just wondering if someone could come up with some kind of table or chart that lists the number of women killed in St. Lucia since independence up till now, showing the date of death and the status of the case.
Why only women? Why only women, caller? Shouldn't be people on the whole?
Well,
men, women?
Because we're talking about it could apply to both sexes.
Right.
Yeah, but I wonder if the detectives at the police force require the assistance of skilled civilians in solving the cases. I wonder if the skill set exists within the police department to actually solve those cold cases and do the necessary detective groundwork to solve the cases.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your contribution. I think we have sufficient time to take at least one final call. Let's take that call right now. Good evening. This is Newsmaker Live. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good evening, Timothy.
Good evening to you.
Good evening to your guest, Miss Williams.
Good evening to you, ma'am.
First, let me say condolences to you, Miss Williams. I know that this must be a very trying time for you and your family. You made a statement earlier regarding counseling for the children, your grandchildren. Are you aware that immediately following the incident, counseling was provided for both children, and there have been multiple counseling sessions with both children at the Division of Human Services? Are you aware?
I'm not aware of that, but I'm speaking about an incident which happened and the reaction of that child on that night. And that is why I asked that, she get some counseling, but I was not informed that it had been done before.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not hearing quite
Are
well.
you an official from the department?
I prefer not to say.
No, but if you're going to interrogate and ask her questions and make statements, then I think it's only fair that we understand whether you're in a position to provide us with credible information as far as this issue is concerned. But anyway,
I cannot speak on behalf of the Division of Human Services.
Okay, but what
I can say is
what Miss Williams is saying is that she was not aware that counseling was provided to her granddaughter prior to a particular incident. So it's when the incident occurred, she recommended that counseling should be provided to her. And then the response was she was too young.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But then let me listen to add. If they had provided, you had provided counseling for her, I appreciated it and I thank you very much for it. But I would also like to see time and again, that she gets with you and, you'll have a little one-on-one, to make sure that everything is fine.
Yes, understandable, yes, totally. Again, like I said, condolences to you and your family, and we look forward to working with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling, ma'am. All right, let's take a final comment from you, Miss Mary Williams. And thank you again for making the appearance on this broadcast tonight. Final comments to you.
Okay, what I would like to see is all those persons who have lost their children, not just girls, their children. Let us come together. Let's rally together for the cause, so that the authorities can do something different, and help bring closure to some of these cases.
Thank you so much for being my guest on this evening's
Thank you
Newsmaker
for
Live.
having me.
And wish you all the best. Is hoping that you'll find closure and the perpetrator or perpetrators will be arrested and brought to justice.
Yes, I'm hoping.
Okay. And to you, thank you so much for watching the broadcast, and thank you so much for contributing via your calls. If it's Wednesday, it's Newsmaker Live. Time now for the clip that beat.
Hi, I'm Alex Busquet, and you're watching Street Vibes. Diabetes is on the rise here in St. Lucia. What are you doing to prevent yourself from getting diabetes and hypertension?
Take care of yourself, take a lot of exercise, drink a lot of water. No sex.
Broadcast once again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Timothy Polion. Please join me on my radio show on Real FM 93.1 and 93.5, and that should be 91.3 and 91.5, and also log on to realfmslu.com. That's tomorrow from 12:30 to 2 o'clock on Real FM. That's Newspin. Right now, I'm saying goodbye from Newsmaker Live. Good night, and see you next time.